Hello and welcome again to another episode of Dave Trippin'. And this time I've taken you to the east coast of Japan, to Motosuka Beach. So, it's not often that, actually, that's a complete and utter lie. It's often that I'm wrong. It's often that I contradict myself. And one of my more popular videos that I've made is teaching in Japan is not a career. And I had another comment on it today, and I thought that the person who had taken opposing opinion to mine was very reasonable in the way that they expressed their beliefs. And I thought that, you know, given my experience recently, I pretty much agree with them. So I'm now making the counter video, and I'm going to have to put a link in the old one to this one, that I do 100% believe you can have a career teaching English in Japan. Now, most of it is that I have no mentor, I have no map to life, and so it was in my context and from everything that I could very rationally see that this was not the case. But I realize now that that was mistaken, and I should more amend what I had to say. Teaching in Japan is not a career so much if you end up staying in one of these large ALT companies. But you really don't have to, and if you're watching my previous video to this one, you know that I'm trying to get out of it right now, and there's tons of jobs in things like Eikaiwas, international schools, and all sorts of different job opportunities that you have. I hope the waves aren't too loud. That's the one concern I have coming to the beach. But look at how beautiful this is. I'll interrupt my speech here just to say that it's really cool if you come down here. Almost all year round you'll see surfers, you'll see kiteboarders. There's a really lively community, and then if you come during the summer, it's just crazy. It's stuffed with people. Anyways, back to the discussion at hand. So you can come here, and one of the big things that I had issue with in the other video that I made is I said that you're going to run into a situation where you're going to have to wait too long before you progress and make a higher pay grade. You're going to have to deal with a very low pay grade until then. All these things disappear if you go outside of these larger companies, and they're all over the place. Like on Gaijin Pots, and that's me looking at one resource alone, you find jobs over 300,000 yen, no problem. Now, one thing that the person commented on my old video was to say that being an ALT, which is an assistant language teacher, takes no skills and you can pretty much be like a monkey to do. And you can take that approach if you want to, but I disagreed with that when they said that, because I was like, you know what? If you make a good effort, it actually takes a lot of skill, because you don't always, as an ALT, assist. There are some school situations that you end up in, like Dean, my friend, he does absolutely everything. He organizes all the classes, and he doesn't want them to be boring, and so he makes a great effort. And so as an ALT, he's a really proficient, talented, interesting, professional teacher. So don't pay attention to that if you come over here and people are like, oh, ALTs are skillless and blah, blah, blah. It's not true. That's true if that's what you turn yourself into, but only if that's the case. It doesn't have to be that way. So teaching in Japan, if you want it to be a career though, I would recommend getting out of the ALT situation, if only for the fact that you won't be paid as much, you know? Why do we get a job? You know, at the higher end of things, we do it for a sort of life satisfaction. But we'd all be lying to ourselves if we didn't still exist in a scarcity society where we need money. We need to eat. We need to pay the bills. And that's that's us living in the top 1% of the world. I'm living in one of the most developed countries in the world. But if I don't have a job, I will end up homeless. I will not be responsible for myself. And I really need to work to eat, to live. You know, do I need a fancy jacket? No. Do I need some of the stuff that I have? No, but I definitely do still need a job, and I need the money. I don't live in some huge place, if you've seen my other videos. Not that you need a huge place, but you need a home. We need jobs and we need money. So you can come to Japan starting out, and you can get a job at one of these major companies, as they're the easiest. I've almost made this video in a way with the one I've done recently that was talking about what's the best way to come to Japan, things I wish I'd known. And it's basically this video, but not with the pretext to it saying that it's actually a career if you know these things. So let's walk right down to the water and get you a shot of those waves. I love waves, I love swimming in waves. I've never learned to surf. It's one of my regrets from coming to live here is that I never, oh, it's getting soft, squishy. I never did learn to surf. Look at that. Look at how beautiful that is. And they get really big. So yeah, that's what I was saying. First and foremost, you're gonna get paid way more money. Where you're gonna come in at one of these ALT companies, you're going to make, what is it? Like Interact advertises between 230 and 250,000 yen. One of these other jobs, you can go in and you can start at, I would not even apply to the job, there's so many of them, for lower than 270. So you can make 270,000 yen. And then, when you're starting to get up over 300,000 yen, you're making as much money as a certified credentialed teacher in a developed country. In Canada, if you're making around $36,000 a year, you're doing a good, that's like what a teacher gets. You get like as an entering wage, unless it's exceptional, it's around 36,000, and then you would progress up over 40,000 given your experience and time spent teaching. You can totally do that here in Japan, and you can totally do it without necessarily a teaching degree. You could do it as I am now without a teaching degree and just experience within the ALT system. And I'm quite proud to say that I think I have skills too. When I've gone to the elementary schools, you're required to lead far more and come up with creative games and engage with the students on a higher level where there's less grammar, you know? So I'm proud of that accomplishment. Other tips that I could offer as a person who's coming over here not with the actual teaching degree, but you want to make it a career, you can do what I'm doing where you've got just your experience. You know, I've just got 3 years experience, but you could even do it at 1. You could go and apply to these places at 1. I used to think that a TEFL certification didn't matter so much, and it doesn't matter so much a TEFL or a CEFL or whatever the hell, but if you go applying to these places, those can actually be really, really good if you're not a certified teacher and you have that additionally. You can say, yeah, I was an ALT, but I have as well this TEFL certification. You know, I've gone through an actual teaching English as a foreign language to people, or whatever, as a second language to people. So I have that certification. So whereas I used to poo-poo the, man, my hands shake too much when I hold this. I used to criticize and say like, why would you get the TEFL? I've noticed that the TEFL would be good on a number of these job applications that I've been looking at. Again, not absolutely necessary, but I've noticed the most recent job I had an interview with had 170 applicants to it. For you to get that little bit of an edge would be very, very, very useful. So, you know, if you want to get the TEFL before you come over, not a bad idea, especially if you want to be here for a few more years and move out of these larger companies. I'd recommend it. Takes not a huge amount of time at all, looks fantastic on your resume, and then when you apply to one of these Eikaiwas, one of these international schools, and if you're not accredited with the teaching certification, you'll be in good shape. It's really useful. Now, another thing that I noticed, another piece of advice that I can give, which it's the one thing, like, I can still get in, I can still apply to these jobs. I've had good interviews. I've been going into jobs where I'm looking at over 300,000 yen. One of the big things about these other jobs, a lot of these schools, is they deal with a lot of younger kids. I've noticed an abundance of schools that are going to have tons of younger kids. And if you've got younger kids, even though you have experience teaching younger kids, which I do at the elementary schools, it's better experience if you've been doing it all the time. So my recommendation would be, and you'll probably have more fun, is if you come over for one of these big companies, request to be with elementary schools. Elementary schools are really cool for a couple of reasons. I've actually talked about this as well in older videos. Elementary schools have so much energy in them with the younger kids, which that's not for everybody, but I really, really like. And on top of the younger energy, the most important thing is, and what these other companies will look at, is that you lead everything. And in fact, the level of English of the teachers in the elementary schools is much lower, so they lean on you far more in the class. It's not like you're going to teach terribly complex things. You're going to teach a lot of vocabulary, you're going to teach basic phrases like I like or I want, things like that, you know, very, very basic stuff. But applying to these other jobs, you're getting experience for the thing that they have. So if you go to an international school where they only teach kids up to 12 years old, well, there you go, right? You've done that for over a year. That's why places like Peppy Kids Club, which everyone I talk to, I haven't talked to somebody who's had like a good experience, like a personal experience, but job experience at a place like Peppy Kids Club can be really, really useful because you're teaching a lot of these younger kids. And at Peppy Kids Club, you're not so much an ALT, you're actually leading the class. It's just like Peppy Kids Club is like one of these places that you would want to get to eventually, but with a way shittier wage. It's like boot camp for getting into these better places that I'm talking about. So I would now, it's weird, you know, how things change. And I mean, hindsight, right? That's how it always is. It's hindsight, is to look at these things and go, oh, you know, like this thing is now this and this is now this. I mean, that's why I'm making this video, you know. I really felt, and I thought I gave an evocative case, provocative, a sound case for the fact that teaching English here wasn't a career. But you know, if only I'd known then what I know now, I wouldn't have made that video. Although I find it funny though, because it had the negative title, any of my negatively titled videos always get more views. Everybody loves a train wreck, right? But I've tried to avoid that. I don't want to just feed off of suffering, you know, although many make a career of that. Fair enough. We all got to live somehow. So let's like list my advice there for you. Basically, one is that you should work for, if you can, I mean, and this isn't the only path, I'm just giving you options so you have an option, is try and work in elementary schools, because so many jobs will open up to you because of the fact that you've worked with younger kids, where every time I go in, I really have to push the point that I've done tons of substitutions at elementary schools. You won't have to do that. You'll just be like, look, I worked at 5 different elementary schools. I got a year experience, 2 years, 3 years plus. And so I know how to deal with your younger kids. I'm not uncomfortable. I think that they look at me and they're like, oh man, he's gonna be weird around young kids. He's only dealt with these 15-year-olds, you know? Where it's not the case. I love young kids, professionally. And so yeah, you've got that. The other thing that I mentioned is now, wow, I can't believe I'm saying it, the TEFL course can matter for these future applications that you might do. Whereas before I would have said to anybody coming over, oh, you know, screw TEFL, who really cares about it? And it was true, except only for the position that I was in currently, not for if you wanted to move along from it. So if you don't have the teaching degree, then TEFL is a really, really good idea, and working with younger kids is a really, really good idea. Not that you couldn't work with older kids, but then it starts to be the case that if you're working with older kids, that you would actually need the teaching certification. That's what I saw when I've looked around at these jobs. And then for people, I think somebody commented on a video recently, they said, you know, what if you come over with the teaching certification? Well, my friend, then you are in exceptional shape. If you come over to Japan, let's get a far out shot, bam. If you come over to Japan with the teaching certification, well, that's a no-brainer. Of course you're gonna get a fantastic job. And you're gonna rise above the rest of us Goombas who came over here and have no teaching certification, and the only thing backing me is my experience within the school, and that I have kind of an informal education supporting me. So yeah, if you got a teaching certification, you're okay. And you're going to get the highest paying jobs. Like, you could find an entry-level job with teacher certification around, like, say, call it 360 to 400,000. And that's like full-on career material right there, as it should be, because that's what it would be in your home country. So they have to, you know, they have to entice you to come over here with your teaching degree that you've left your home country. Crazy thing is though, and another reason I'm making this video, is that those jobs are available to people like myself and you watching this video who don't have a teaching certification. You can come over here with the degree. That was another thing that bugged me, as I vent here about the previous video, is like where they said you have no skills you know, as an ALT. You can only get hired over here in an ALT position if you have a degree. I love how casually having a degree apparently doesn't mean shit anymore. That I can graduate from a prestigious university with a Bachelor of Arts, and that's like, that means no skills. What? What kind of world are we living in that means no skills? I went through a 4-year program that they're not handing these things out. You didn't get into university for free, but it's considered skillless. But you know, whatever. I don't begrudge this person their opinion. What's the little poem my dad always liked to say? Oh, would the God a gift he gives to see ourselves as others see us. When she saw me and she sees the way that I'm speaking, I think it was a Lucy, that's why I assume it's a woman. She sees that one perspective, right? And I understand that given that perspective, given that one video, that's her opinion of, you know, how I might be. She's not thought of the degree I've gone through. She's not thought of whatever else. But her comment was inspiring because I did respond to her and I said, you know what, you're right. I do think that it can be that over here, and I've not really re-examined this issue since making the video. So there it is. It was just those couple of things. You can make enough money to have a career, and I wanted to give those few pieces of advice that working with younger children is really, really beneficial, and having something like a TEFL is really, really beneficial as well. In the case that you don't have a teaching degree and you still want to come over here and have teaching as a career. But all of that said and done, you can be like me, Mr. Goomba, who doesn't have any of those certifications and only experience within a junior high school and has quite frequently gone to elementary schools, and you could end up getting a job that in Canada or in America at the entry level would net you about $36,000 to $40,000 a year. And then you can grow. These places that I've been looking at, they have yearly salary reviews, like a 4% increase on your wage, well in excess of inflation. So you can come over here and you can have a career. It doesn't have to be a dead end. And I now have to put a link in that other video and connect it to this video and admit that I was wholly wrong. There, you got it out of me. I was wrong. And I'll probably be wrong about 10 more times today about something. Maybe I'm wrong about this video in the next year, that the landscape of education changes so much in Japan that this is no longer the case. But for now, I'm right. At least for a week, I'm right. So this will also give people hope who are like, man, am I going to go over there? Am I going to like waste a year where if it was their intention to be a career and then be like, and find out that it's not a career and then I have to go home? So no, that's not the case. You can totally have it. So if you like this video, please do like the video. That would make sense. One goes with the other. Please push that little button down below. Helps other people who know and other people who are having this question know. Helps me grow the channel. Makes you feel good. You helped another human being. Please subscribe to the channel for all the above reasons. And I don't know, teachers at home, maybe leave a comment about your experience teaching. People already over here in Japan, talk about your progress through, you know, your path to finding a career here. And I said it in the last video. I wouldn't make the video where I said that I didn't get the job that I was applying for. Didn't get it, yeah. Most recent job application or interview number, interview 9. Interview 9 has failed, crashed and burned. They said that they would get a hold of me by Monday if I was going to make it to the second round of interviews. Lo and behold, it's Wednesday and I've heard nothing from them. Universe is crazy, maybe I still get a letter from them, but it's not gonna stop me from applying. It's not gonna stop me from continuing to try until my last breath to turn this into a career here. So like, subscribe, comment. I hope you enjoyed this and find it useful. Ciao for now. Peace.